My name is Justine, and I did my project with Aubrey. We were assigned the Formalism and New Criticism lens. Formalism is a branch of New Criticism, and it's a way to analyze literary text to understand the meaning and the factors that contribute to what is being said. So, what is the Formalist lens and New Criticism lens? Formalism is the study of text without taking into account any outside influence. All that we care about in the formalist lens is what is said itself, and we don't take into consideration background info such as author or cultural traditions or even era of the timepiece. We really want to make sure that we're analyzing what we're seeing, and in doing this, we emphasize close reading of the literature and we really want to pay close attention to the interactions between form of the text and the meaning. We can ask ourselves, how are individual parts of the text connected? Did we notice any patterns that continue throughout the passage? And how does the text enhance symbols? By doing this, we are utilizing the formalism text when we analyze, read, and look over any piece of literary work.
Criticism of the formalist lens. Like said from before, the formalist lens is meant to look at the text and just the text. To some people, the formalist lens limits what a reader can gain from reading its literary text. Some may argue that formalism cages the text so it looks more like an artifact and is hushed, rather than embodying emotion and change over time. The text is set in stone, not allowing it to be a dynamic process. When using the formalist lens, we miss out on the most vital and significant information about the text. The text is seen in isolation and ignores the context.
So here we have an example of utilizing the formalist lens. When looking at the song Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, we might recognize the repetition of the word twinkle. In this, we can consider the connotation and denotation of the word. Connotation referring to what the author is trying to imply through the use of the word, and denotation meaning the basic meaning of the word without any implications. In addition, we can also take into consideration how the poem is relayed through a first person. How I wonder is an example of this, as well as simile in the lines like a diamond in the sky. Lastly, we can also recognize the rhyme scheme throughout the entirety of the song. In using the formalist lens, we as readers are allowed to dissect the literary text and understand all the workings that are used to form it. This helps the reader understand the meaning of the text. My name is Justine, and I decided to read the novel Lucy by Jamaica Kincaid. In the novel, Lucy is a 19-year-old who comes to the U.S. from the West Indies to help support a white family. We can note her down as a caretaker for both the family and the home. Her big journey in the U.S. with this family brews up confusion and misunderstanding of her role in this foreign country, and throughout the story, it just documents her understanding and how she learns to come to the realization of what it means to be in the United States as someone who comes from the West Indies. And we just recognize the cultural difference between how she grew up and what she's being surrounded by. So, in these quotes, I decided to illustrate her thinking process throughout the novel, beginning with a quote. And the rain felt like small, hard nails. The sun shone sometimes, but weakly, as if it held a grudge. This shows her her personality, the way that she viewed the world, the way that she saw her surroundings and her environment. And a little after this quote, she begins to see it more positively as she gets familiar and comfortable with how she interacts with others and how others interact with her. The next quote, that phrase soon became the tail that wagged my dog. If I had died then, it should have been my epitaph. This quote shows the progression and the rather roller coaster of emotions that she goes through from the beginning of the book to the end. The next says, these documents showed everything about me, and yet they showed nothing about me. This really shows how her coming to this new world for her was really monumental, and her old life didn't translate into this new one. Through all of these quotes, we gain an understanding as to why the author portrays Lucy as someone who's on a sort of self discovery and a journey to understanding her role in a world other than the one that she is used to knowing. And we learn we see the development of Lucy, and it really enhances the text itself.
And now for the conclusion. While the formalist lens aims to analyze the text by not taking outside influence into consideration, all that is really cared about is the literary work itself. And in order to really understand a piece of literature, we only need to look specifically at the language. And, well, through the formalist lens, it is emphasized that we use closed reading of the literary texts. Now, you have to pay close attention to the interaction between the form of the text and, of course, the text's meaning.
So here we have an example for you, Mr. Hasten, or the class in future observations for y'all to try. You're going to come up with 1 to 2 examples of the formalist lens that you have seen in past literary texts that you have read. But remember, it is simply about the structure of the text and not what the speaker's purpose or message is. We don't want to add on to the text itself with our previous knowledge, our previous biases. We really want to take what the text is saying and analyze it. We can also ask ourselves 3 important questions. What do these examples contribute to the message of the text? If the text was written differently, using different literary devices, would it change the message of the text? In many instances, the way sentence structure is constructed really influences what we gain from the text and our understanding of it. Lastly, we can ask ourselves, what is the purpose of using literary devices in writing? Literary devices are some of the most basic and significant pieces of the art of writing, and it really influences how we gather the text as a whole and how we come to an understanding at the end. This is the end of our presentation. I hope that Aubrey and I were able to inform you of formalism and the new criticism lens in hopes that you understand and you're able to apply it yourself.